Alan's not here, but we need someone to take minutes though.
Oh no.
These look so intense. I will try.
Blood sugar.
He literally writes down everything. I need to take
Fast as you can.
What?
As fast as you can.
Okay, we're starting the meeting again. So we're going to go through a round of introductions first. Hello, my name is Daniel White. I'm the current chair of the finance board. Go this way.
Hi, I'm Zane Hoffmer. I'm the vice president of student organizations.
Hi, I'm Violet Treasurer, the SGA treasurer. I usually prefer. You guys go ahead.
Oh, you're okay. I'm Hamza. I'm treasurer for Kaiser.
I'm Robin, I'm the past president.
Hi, I'm Junaid. I'm the events coordinator.
We can finance board representative, Tina.
Canal Finance Board Representative for Nancy Kim.
Christina, finance board representative. She, her. I'm Tori Beasley, I'm an advisor. She, her.
I'm Colin. I'm the president of SGA.
Joshua, first ambassador.
All right, so we're going to get started. Who'll be asking the questions for Pasta? No. Right. So you should have received a list of questions beforehand. You guys got that? All right. Good to know. So we're going to have Kunal go through. Kunal, of course, use your due diligence. If you think they've answered the question beforehand, stick to it.
Okay, cool. Can you tell us a little bit about your organization?
So we're University of Pakistan student organization, and we're a cultural organization, obviously. So we do events to expose the campus community and outside public to the Pakistan culture.
Can you tell us a little about what you're requesting?
So we're requesting for our main event. It's called JC Kamal. It's an event where we plan on having a bunch of other student organizations that represent just our South Asian or Middle Eastern culture. So we want all our performances to be cultural, and we're gonna have also our traditional food and attire as well. So that would be what it is about.
How did you get an estimated attendance of 250 students?
So I think the Kelly that already left, yeah, she talked to us about this a while back, and in the past, like the events we've had, our larger events, they always had like an average attendance of about 280, and then it would always get sold out, and people were requesting more tickets, so we thought we would bump it to 300 and have 250 UMBC students, because we know we have students from Towson, College Park, and other schools coming.
What costs will the organization be bearing?
So what did you mean by that?
Like, what will you be taking out? Like, what costs are you going to be using?
Oh, okay. So, like, Victor is our photographer, and since he's a student here, we were told we would be using our funds for him, and that's $300.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's the only thing we have on our list.
Can you give us a timeline on the event?
So we plan on, the doors are going to open at 7, but we plan on starting out at 8 p.m. And we're going to start out with our board entrance and introductions, and then we plan on having our fashion show, which is also like a cultural themed one. And then we're going to have some performances, and then have the food served, and have the rest of the performances. And then we're going to do like a t-shirt giveaway and end it off with an open dance floor.
How is your organization reaching outside of a usual audience and to the general UMBC audience?
Okay, so we have a couple of events planned for this semester. We do have these events almost every semester. So we reach out in downtown Baltimore. We do a food drive. We collaborate with another bigger association that's called HHRD and ICNA. We do food drives, and people in need, we go out there. Food distribution is our main event, basically.
Yeah, we work with other organizations as well. We plan on doing it more this semester. We're still planning those like volunteer events, charity things with other orgs to get involved.
Awesome. Can you talk about the layout of the room?
We'll have 25 round tables just towards the front, and then the dance floor and the standard stage in the ballroom. The food won't be inside there. We'll have the food in the room next to the ballroom. I think you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. So that's our basic layout.
I'm pretty sure they answered the question after. The who they're collaborating with.
Yep.
There's one specifics, it's like MSA, Muslim Student Association, and we're doing a cricket day, so we're gonna be playing against the Sri Lankan Student Association. So that's 2 clouds right there, but we're looking for more.
Okay, awesome. How did you choose a location for the event?
But it just was good with the amount of people we're having. And on campus, that was one part of the available choices for that sort of event.
This is just to double check it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Are any other contracts you have with these students?
we're just double checking.
We're just double checking. We're just double checking.
The photographer Victor G.
Okay, that's it.
That's it.
Alright, cool. How did you choose the decorations?
We're just, our theme is very colorful and bright, so we just did based off that. But the decorations on our list, like we did change up some of the colors of things, but that's the project. We wanted it to be like royal blue, gold, and red, so that's how we did.
How did you choose the performers?
We're still in the middle of that, but we have most of them, and they're mainly from the school, like from organizations such as the ones representing like the South Asian culture, the Middle Eastern culture, like the PSA. We have University Shara, we have the South Asian Capella group, so those sorts.
And will the DJ be playing the entire night?
Yeah, he'll be playing until 11:30, but it ends at 12, so it's almost the entire night.
Any
Alright.
other
So we're gonna open up to additional questions from the finance board. Who would like to begin? Any questions for the board? Or now, for their board?
Do you have the contracts for the DJ and the photographer?
So the DJ, he confirmed with us, but he told us that he would do that or something, but he just wanted a couple days, so I was like, you can submit it to us as soon as possible, so he's busy right now. But I will get that.
Oh, so you don't have it yet?
Yeah, not yet, but we're in the middle of it right now.
Okay. So also another thing that we're lacking currently is the food contract. Do you have that as well?
Is that
in there.
Is it in there?
Yes,
Is it
yeah,
just
she
that?
just sent that to me.
It's
and
$1
I passed it
off.
on the drive.
Huh?
The request is $1 high.
Okay.
What?
Yeah.
Refresh
the page.
The price of 6,279, that's with Victor's
Yeah,
price?
we were subtracting Victor.
That's
Yeah.
it. I think so, yeah. That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
Seaman?
24, okay, it's off at $1.
Oh yeah, we just found that out today.
Oh, no, you don't have to do that.
No,
way.
no,
You
don't worry, it's
put
fine.
the
We see it,
bottom.
it's fine. You know.
It's the bottom plus size.
It's fine, it's fine.
Oh no, sorry.
No problem. You're an FYI, you're allowed to make mistakes. Alright. Something at 8:33. Okay, so it's $1 off, it's $1 off. But, so, any other questions for the organization?
Is all the Amazon documentation correct?
Yeah, the decorations are correct, just the colors.
Okay.
So we'll let you know what kind of.
But the total is the exact total, we were just switching around the colors.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you include the decoration please?
Oh, and the total probably doesn't match with the 300, I think it was like almost close to it, but I didn't see the exact amount. It should be at the bottom.
I calculated 215.93 when I was going over it.
I think it's more than that.
Is there anything else?
Yeah, there is, it's just like in a bad order.
You got those ones as well, Scott?
I don't know. I put in my notes. Can somebody please double check?
It's right
So,
here.
378.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I missed a page then.
That's fine. Alright.
Do we care about the type of like serving, kind of like the ones?
That's a discussion question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Other additional questions for the organization? Anyone? This is a pedantic one. How did you choose the food?
We wanted it to be entirely bought from Middle Eastern and South Asian, and also we had to make sure it was halal due to the population.
Alright. A following one again is just like, while I understand you reaching out to a broad organization and stuff like that, but one of the big things about these type of events is like you're supposed to be educating the UMC body. So how are you getting people from the UMC who generally don't come to these type of events to come?
We just get everyone, well, we advertise to everyone, not just within
Yeah.
Pakistan. We advertise even different organizations as well, like the English Pakistan.
Right.
And like a lot of people who want to learn about like our culture, they do come out.
Right, yeah. And then right then package. Yeah. Right. Not too big of an issue there.
Do you have a MyUMBC event for this event?
I don't know if it's up, but yeah, we do use the MyUMBC event thing, but I'll make sure. It should be there.
We like that.
Yeah.
All right. So, if there are no additional questions for the organization, we'll move into a period of discussion. Going once, going twice.
Well, I was just gonna say, I don't know if like not having the contract for the DJ, and I know like the quote came really late, so I didn't know if we were going to kind of wait to officially kind of discuss this.
Right. Okay. So, as I do apologize, this was something I should have explained a bit better. So, as a policy, this finance board, if your documentation does not come before the meeting starts, we wouldn't consider it. So, of course, your food documentation came in a bit after 5:30. So, if you would like to have that considered, we'd have to push you off to next week. Also, again, you do not have the contract for the DJ yet either. We would not be able to vote upon that line item either. So, at the current moment, the finance board, of course, will discuss your event and your allocation request. Well, you guys, of course, are welcome to stay through that. What we do instead is that once you get the documentation to Carly, so the food one you guys already have, and once you get the DJ to them, instead of having you guys come back in next week, we simply just confirm it without that, and we generally be fine. Yeah, so we table you for this week, and then we give you a decision next week. Okay. Does this damage any of your time? I know it's November 15th, so I'm hoping that you guys are fine with that, right?
Yeah. It's okay, we should have the DJ.
Yeah, so get all the documentation to Carly, and we'll be happy to vote upon this next week. However, as we have a time blocked off for you guys, we will be discussing this so that we can spare some time next week. Okay. We're about to enter a period of discussion. During discussion, it's only for finance board members to speak about. Of course, if the finance board member has a question for the organization, I may call upon them to ask the organization. You guys, you're an organization. If you have a concern or something you'd like to bring up, some point of clarification, raise your hand and I may call upon you. Okay. Who would like to begin discussion?
I'll start. I think I like how it's a very elaborate event, and I know Paxa always has like very large events, and a lot of people coming out to them, which are really great and successful. I don't have although we don't have the DJ contract, I know they've like had the same DJ before, and that's like a totally fair price for that. I think this is a fine request. I'm in favor of funding. I guess with like the food total, it actually makes sense. I guess it's about $10 a head, supposedly.
We're from Hacking BC.
We're currently deciding on the organization at the moment.
I don't have any problems with the
I agree with Carly. I think besides like standard things, like food definitely makes sense for this event. They've done their outreach, and then they're planning for outreach, and then also their collaboration with other organizations, which is important. Yeah, I think just getting documentation and then just showing general consent.
Okay, I know Tanya doesn't have a point to make up at the moment. Tanya? You wanted to bring up something about consensus?
Oh, right, I'm so sorry. I just want to contribute. Yes, so, there's, like,
There's a guideline.
Yeah. Can you go through that? Just a guideline.
Oh, you want me to do it? Okay, Tanya, okay, I got you, don't worry. So, as a guideline, the finance board used to have this initiative called the Green Paul Fund. The Green Paul Fund was a separate fund of roughly $1,500, I want to say, that was used to encourage student organizations to utilize more green products. As of last year, this was cut as we were supposed to be encouraging the utilization of green products regardless. Last year, the finance board was very spotty on our application of this guideline. Of course, this year the guideline is still in effect. For the previous couple organizations, we have not been enforcing it. Would we like to begin enforcing them now is the question I would be offering the organization to the board.
Did we fund things?
We definitely funded decorations, I believe, and for, what was that, one of the...
Decorations have to be.
Did we fund any utensils this year yet?
No,
I don't recall it. No, actually, we have not funded any utensils yet. So this is the first organization. No, they don't. Those are
Oh,
It's oftentimes they're included together, so it's like a grouped item.
Yeah, I don't remember funding
Yeah.
plates or napkins.
Right.
Or, like,
So is this well, the SGA obviously strives to be a more green organization, and we encourage all student organizations to be more green. However, of course, with that encouragement, there are of course financial costs. How does the board currently feel about requesting that the organizations requesting utensils and plates go acquire green alternatives instead of styrofoam or plastics?
I'm in favor of it.
You're in favor of it? Okay. So I will bring up one of the bigger concerns that organizations did have was that oftentimes the paper foils, paper plates, they did not hold up. That's one of the big problems they had. One of the, I don't recall which organization it was, the food was extraordinarily heavy and wet, and it caused the paper to disintegrate. And they would have to layer multiple layers and layers and layers of plates to ensure that it did not disintegrate. Yeah.
Are these not included in the catering?
Some catering.
Some catering does not. So it's obviously a line item we do see often though. So Sina, what do you think?
So is this like, so you said in some cases when it's catered, they provide their own utensils?
The caterer provides utensils for the
Yeah.
organizations. Yes.
Okay.
I mean, we can't really stop them.
We can't stop them
Right,
from
right.
free products.
But
Yeah.
this case they don't?
They do not, so they're
Yeah.
requesting additional funds for utensils and plateware.
I mean, I say, well, for me, I say give it to them because like, it's kind of like, you know, they
So-
kind of,
so
it's
Sina,
something that they
The question is more of like, should we be asking them to get the green versions of these things?
Mhm.
Like, I don't think we have any issues right now with offering up utensils
Okay.
and plates. It's just that which versions of these plates do we want them to go get?
Are the green ones the one that you said they had trouble holding
They had,
up?
sometimes they had struggles with them.
Depending on like,
Yeah, depending on type of cuisine.
Yeah, then I'm gonna like go against that if they don't hold up.
Okay. I mean, that's perfectly fine. If we wish to move forward like this and we will not
Yeah.
encourage the utilization of green utensils,
I
then it's
mean-
perfectly free to do that.
I just think in terms of last year, the request that I saw like the green one like wasn't consistent. Like there could be
The
like
prices were massive sometimes.
yeah, like sometimes it's extraordinarily expensive.
Yep.
Otherwise, like sometimes people have problems with like
I think that if we wanted to do something like this, finance board would have to do the research itself and then
yeah.
give a list of student organizations of the plateware and
Yeah.
dinnerware that utensils that we are willing to fund.
Yeah.
I think that's a discussion we can definitely have. But at the current moment, I see no issues with funding these type of utensils. Right? Okay. So another point is that decorations. Are there any discussions upon decorations?
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks so much,
Yeah.
Okay.
I would go on the record and I'm like pro Dollar Tree decorations whenever possible, however, like for the quantity for this and everything, I think it's like at that level or comparable, so I'm fine.
Right, very well. Go back to the budget, please. Thank you very much. So very well. We have no issues with the food in the 8.33.
Alright, so since we only now have the documentation, I was trying to go through it. The request for food is for 300 people, 250 people. No, the request is.
Yeah, for 300, but we count 200 people as UMBC students.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
was gonna bring up. So, do we want to fund food for the other 50?
Well, I mean, there's no way that we could actually like give you a red card if you don't get food.
Yeah, you can't
Yeah,
like
we can't do that.
separate catering.
We simply have to accept a reasonable level of error.
So
So
we're funding for the full amount. We could fund it.
it's at $10 a head. Yeah,
8 point something.
if we utilize it as funding only for UMBC students, 2,500 divided by 250 is $10 a head. Is that a comfortable amount that the finance board is willing to vote for? Okay. Other than that, are there any other issues with this allocation request? If not, then we'll table this organization until next week. Carly, of course, will step out with you to talk about next steps and what you should be expecting. If you have any other comments or concerns, please let Carly know and she'll convey them to us. Thank you for coming out tonight.
That's actually the wrong budget, like it said in the email, like we have to strike the 15.
300, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
We'll have it updated for next week. So,
Okay.
put that agenda Hack UMBC at 8:05. Okay.
So we have our own phone numbers. I love it.
Alright. So who's operating for Hack UMBC?
I love you.
They're going to be asking questions, so yeah, she'll be asking the questions.
Yeah, I wrote her. But then you left, and I was like, where'd she go? Did she get a recess?
We'll wait for Carly to get back here. You guys are scheduled for 8:05, so we're going to wait 2 minutes. Step on the schedule, right?
My calories for the day.
Doing pretty good. How about you?
Dunkin' Donuts is intervening, so just dunk it. Where have you been, my friend?
That's been like a year-long talk.
What are you
It has.
No, it came 11 minutes ago. 11 minutes ago, like 6 months ago.
I guess the entertainers just don't really care that much.
I mean, I kind of do.
Over the summer.
I'm very sure. No. Just say Dunkin'. No, I want to see Dunkin' Donuts. Why? Because Dunkin' you got us some coffee. Okay, but I thought we were just doing it to get attention.
I know.
Sure, she needs to calm down.
Why do they care that much? We're still gonna show up. SCB.
No, I don't go to IHOP. I go to Walmart.
I know what SGA is.
If I go to
Maryland, SCB gets
yeah. I mean, the other ones are both better, but like, I'll get like a Southern Mall.
We're literally actually like
They think I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna go to West Village. They think like, I was trying to catch what we're doing. I was trying to be a desk. Literally all I do is like, wow. Get in front, answer calls and stuff. There's some resume. You're trying to get rid of jobs, aren't you? I'm like, no.
Cool.
You could be a total.
I think that would be
Hey, Scott, stop talking. We're starting up again.
Please, thank you, Daniel.
Alright, so, Zane, stop talking. Alright, we're going to be starting the meeting at 8:05 again. I'm going to be doing some introductions. We'll be going left. Hello, my name is Daniel. I'm the current chair of the finance board. I use he, him pronouns.
Hi, I'm Zane. I'm the vice president of student organizations.
Hi, I'm Carly Soto, the SGA treasurer. I use she, her pronouns.
Hi, I'm Logan Atkinson. I'm an observer. I use he, him pronouns.
Introduce yourselves.
Oh, I'm Emily. I'm a happy with the organizer and secretary, so she, her.
I'm Sajid. I'm the vice president of Hack UMBC and he, him.
Scott Buchanan, finance board representative, he, him.
Look up.
No, finance board rep. Pronouns again.
I'm Tori Beasley. I'm finance board advisor. She, her.
So Sina, finance board representative. My pronouns are she, her.
Hi, my name's Tanya. I'm the vice chair for finance board. I'll be taking minutes this evening. I use she, her pronouns.
Hi, I'm Colin. I'm the president of SGA.
I'm Joshua, freshman ambassador.
Alright, so before this meeting, you should have received a list of questions. Yep, okay. So Cecina will be handling those questions. Cecina, use your judgment. If you feel it's good answer, feel free to stick to it all.
Can you tell us a bit about your organization?
Okay, so Hack UMBC is both a student organization, but as well as a event we host twice a year or once a semester. And as for the event, it's a hackathon, and hackathons are, if you guys aren't aware, hackathons are events that are run during a weekend where students that are usually in the computer science field, but any field's allowed, come together for 24 hours to put together a project of like any sort. So it can be like a website, or it can be like a little robot, or like anything. It really helps build like the practical skills in the computer science field, whereas the classroom only builds theoretical skills. And our student organization is we have workshops every 2 weeks on Friday, where we basically just teach people those skills so they can go to hackathons or go in the real world when they work to be able to actually work.
Can you tell us about what you are requesting?
Yeah, so we're requesting money to help us out with our event this fall. So we would like help with our venue and all sorts of like smaller costs like security and things like that. Because Hacking BC, the event is for at least 500 people every semester. And to get a venue that large, we need 2 buildings, and we need a lot of staff for that, such as security.
How is your organization advertising for this event?
So we have a lot of social media participation, and like Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and a bunch of things. We also have our own website, and we are on the Major League Hackings, like the hackathon organization for North America and Europe and stuff. They're also advertising for us, so basically anyone around the world should know about us.
How did you reach an estimated attendance of 350 out of 500 UMBC students?
So every year we have signups on our website, and on our website when they register, they have to give where they go to school from, because we have to make sure they're a college student. And every year it's around 60% UMBC students, and that is around 300 to 350. And we have the actual raw data to show it's around 350.
Who else is funding this event, and how much are they contributing?
So we have sponsors from many companies. Like if you go on our website, at the bottom we have sponsors from many companies like the NSA and some other companies. And I think right now they have contributed, I don't know the actual number because I'm not on the finance team with UMBC.
I want to say at least 20K.
At least 20,000. And we'd like to put most of that towards the event to make it as big as possible, because it really does bring, the event itself really brings a lot of people towards UMBC. So I've been on Hacking UMBC for like 3 years, and I meet people who are high schoolers who went to our event, and they're like, oh, I go to UMBC now. Like I went to the last Hacking UMBC meeting, and then someone walked up to me and was like, oh, you helped me that one time at Hacking UMBC. And I was like, oh, do I know you? And then he was like, yeah, I was a high schooler at your event. Now I went to UMBC because I liked the hackathon.
How did you choose the location of the event?
Usually every fall we need a big location, but we can never get we can't get the event center because that's just too much of a cost, and that would outweigh our budget. And then we can't get the English building, the POB. We can't get POB because they just won't allow us to use POB. So we choose the engineering and IT building, and we split the event between the two, so it's a large enough venue for all 500 people.
I think it's good that one.
Would you like the last?
Yeah, just the last one.
What other campuses are attending?
So we allow any campus. So, but the big names are usually UMD, Johns Hopkins, and Towson. But there have always been people from like outside the state or like smaller schools around the area.
That's it. Is it?
Oh, the
Last two.
small.
I think this was one.
Yeah. Turnout last year they had 2,000 as well. Collaboration with groups like this. That's the road.
Have you sought collaboration from other groups on campus?
Yeah, so we have workshops, and like both during the event as well as like every other week, and we try to get other organizations who want to teach stuff, such as like IEEE or Robotics Club to help teach stuff, or if they want to host their own mini event during Hacking UMBC, they're welcome to.
Okay. So that finishes up the pre-screen questions. Are there any other questions for the organization?
I don't remember if this was already asked, but are you guys doing a MyUBC event for?
We can.
Yeah.
We've done in past years. I don't know if we're doing it this year.
Okay. Because we highly encourage y'all to start using MyUBC for like just
Yeah.
putting your event out there.
We're on the CSEE page. I don't know if we're on MyUBC.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Scott?
You guys said you had 20K in sponsorships. Are you guys putting that towards anything in this event specifically?
So a big portion is towards food because we have to supply meals for lunch, dinner the first day, breakfast and lunch the next day, as well as a midnight snack. There's also funding the venue because, as I see up there, we don't have venue. We just have those costs for like setup and stuff. We have to pay to what are those? There are a lot of them.
There's also transportation.
There's transportation. So we try to get buses for UMD, John Hopkins, and Towson, so get all those students here and back both days. We have to pay for.
And swag, general swag, because hackers like.
So yeah, so we have T-shirts for all hackers, and a bunch of other like small things like stickers and things. So it's a good like advertisement for both UMBC and Hack UMBC because it has like the logos, and it's a very good memorable thing for them. So they'll remember them.
Are there other additional questions for the organizer? Carly?
I don't remember if this is like already covered or kind of stated in the request, but to like participate in the hackathon, do you have to pay?
No, it's all free.
Okay, for even non-students?
Yes.
Okay.
Are there additional questions for the organization? If not, we'll move to a period discussion. Discussion is the time only for finance board members to speak. If finance board members wishes to ask you a question, I may call upon them to ask you, and if you have any comments or concerns, please raise your hand and I may call upon you. All right. This seems very straightforward, everyone. Does anyone have any actual issues with this? This seems like a very good event that benefits the general UPC body, and these are standard fees that we generally fund. Any issues? Here?
No, there's sponsors for the cost sharing.
Yep, and they got their sponsors. They're paying out of pocket for a bunch of this stuff thanks to their sponsors. Is there a motion on the floor?
Move to approve.
Second. Okay, move to approve Hack UMBC for the amount of $2,605.50. All those for? 7. All those against? 0. All those abstaining? 0. All right, you guys have been funded for $2,605.50. Thank you for coming, Finance Board.
Thank you.
Carly will be speaking with you on next steps, and if you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns, please let Carly know, and she'll convey them to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. What else is there? General consent of AFD. There, how's that going?
I mean, the stuff.
Man, that was easy.
$40,000.
They told you everything.
Gosh.
Going back one? Yeah.
Oh. All right, 5-minute recess. Until 8:20. Because Carly needed to go and talk to everyone. Then we got a hit on AFD to come today.
Can we on the back?
Oh, you guys should stop.
5-minute recess.
Oh, really?
Thanks for reminding me.